أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد.
The audience are of different age groups and we are being televised on the television live. I had prepared a few notes on this verse and I was asked to speak on the topic of Ghadir in 21st century for my brothers and sisters, inshallah. I'll try and first of all I would like to describe what really happened very briefly in Ghadir. The Holy Prophet has this revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Ma'idah, Surah number 5. Ya ayyuha Rasul balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik, Surah number 5 and verse number 67. So he receives this revelation and he says, deliver this message, which is the completion of the prophethood and the beginning of imamat and wilayat. He collects all the companions and all the other believers in the plains of Ghadir and he says that he has to make an important announcement. And he asks one of his companions to give adhan, and they said this is not the right time for adhan. He said this will get the attention, grab the attention of all the people that are present. And many people have used this method in many of the countries, in Islamic countries. Whenever they had problem, they would give adhan and people would say, what's going on? This is not the time for adhan. So it would attract the attention of all the people that are listening. So he used this method and he said, start the adhan, and they started the adhan and all the people started coming. And he said, wait for the people that are left behind, call the people back too who have gone forward, and everyone has to gather on these plains for this important announcement. You know, the verse is that if you do not deliver this message, then you have not delivered anything. So it is an extremely important message. So it collects everyone and everyone comes together. And the very important, not only just important, but the longest sermon of the Holy Prophet's life. I was counting the lines, there are over 300 lines of that sermon. Can you imagine, in open plains, he's giving the longest sermon, and the Holy Prophet always, you know, if you look at the sermons of the Holy Prophet, he gave very short sermons. Imam alayhi salam, Nahjul Balagha, these sermons in Nahjul Balagha are not cut off. They are complete sermons. He did not always speak for an hour. If the need was only for 5 minutes, he spoke for 5 minutes, 10, 20, half an hour. So, and this sermon is the longest sermon of the Holy Prophet's life. And in that sermon, he gives an outline of the entire religion, and 4 times in that sermon, he mentions the name of the 12th Imam alayhi salam. That after me, Allah. So he says that I'll have 12 successors. First one of them, awwaluhum Ali wa akhiruhum Mahdi. The first one of them is Ali and the last one is Mahdi alayhi salam. So they all gather and he is announcing to them, he is on a pulpit which is very high, made of the saddle, you know, the back, on the back of the camel they would have a saddle, so he took them off and he placed them. There are many philosophical arguments that the scholars have tried to draw from this act of the Holy Prophet. Why did he use the saddles from the back of the camels? Many say that because people were traveling on the camels, so he did not wish for them to leave. The others say that no, he wanted to tell the people that you all have a grudge in your heart, just like the camels. The camel is known for the grudge. If the owner hits it, it will try and bite you whenever it gets a chance. It has a very good memory. Both camels and elephants have very good memory, but the camel always tries to take revenge. So it holds a grudge for a very long time and it remembers, and it will always take it out on you. So the Holy Prophet ﷺ was trying to tell the people that you are all holding grudges against Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, who had killed many of the family members, not because they were good people, but because they were evil people. They were trying to kill the Holy Prophet or trying to destroy the Muslims, so the Imam fought back to them. Now, the Holy Prophet had a companion who had a very loud voice. Imagine they did not have microphones. And you had a crowd of over 100,000 people, 120,000 people, even 1,000 people, it is quite difficult. Muharram is coming and I've seen if there are thousands of people, it is very difficult if the sound system is not working properly to get your voice across. So the Holy Prophet had many pauses. He did not speak very fast like me. He said, I'll speak with a lot of pauses in between. And he told one of his companions to stand on a hill and he said, you will hear me and repeat every single word that you hear from me. He would speak very loudly, he would shout from the top of his voice so everyone could hear the Holy Prophet. He was repeating everything being said by the Holy Prophet. And the Holy Prophet gave the full sermon, and then he asked, where is my brother Ali? And they all asked that Imam Ali al-Islam would come forward. And he bowed down to hold the hand of Ali ibn Abi Talib al-Salam with his left hand. He held the right arm of Imam Ali al-Salam, and he held it so strong so that he lifted Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib from the ground in his hands. And he said, Man kuntu mawla, and the crowd in front of him, on the three sides were men and behind him were women. It was a crowd inclusive of all genders. So the Holy Prophet had everyone sitting there. His wives, his family members, companions, everyone was there. And he stood up. He said, Alastu awla bikum min anfusikum? Do I not have more authority over you than all of you yourselves have? We all have authority over ourselves. I have the authority to have a surgery on myself or refuse a surgery if I need to. I have the authority to take the medicine or refuse the medicine. We all have authority over ourselves. So he said, do I not have more authority over yourselves than yourselves? Alubala, they all said, of course you have, Ya Rasulullah. The Holy Quran has made you, in Surah Tahrim and other places, in other surahs in the Holy Quran, Surah Hujurat, if I'm not mistaken, many places in the Holy Quran, the Almighty discusses the authority of the Holy Prophet. An-Nabiyyu awla bil mu'minina min anfusihim. The Prophet has more authority over the believers than they themselves. There is a fundamental difference between the meaning of the word Mawla and Wali between us and our Muslim brothers. They say here it means Mawla and Wali means friend, and we take the meaning of master. Now, I don't want to go into the verses as the time is short, and I cannot see the clock here. So inshallah you'll remind me of the time. So I finish within my own time. Now the Holy Prophet looked at all the masses and he said to all the people holding the hand of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Alastu awla bikum min anfusikum? Do I not have more authority over you than all of you yourselves? They said, of course you do. Qalu bala. It's not na'am, it is bala. It is affirmation. Sometimes you say na'am, yes. And sometimes you say, of course you do. Like in English. So they all said, of course you have. Meaning we already know this, that you have more authority, and we affirm and we confirm that you have more authority. Then he said, Man kuntu mawla fahada aliyun mawla. Fahada aliyun mawla. So he turned around all the places where the people were looking at him and he said, whoever I am the master of, this Ali is his master. This Ali is his master. This Ali, he repeated that many times. Now when he said those words, everyone looked, and many people, they had covered their heads. Why? Because they had shaved their heads. The heat of Saudi Arabia, of Mecca, about 13 kilometers, within the 30 kilometers of Mecca, people were sitting on the floor, boiling hot, hands shaved off, so it was very difficult for many people to actually cover their heads. They were all bowing down, listening to such a long sermon. And at the end he announces, whoever I am the master of, this Ali is his master. Which Ali is his master? Is our master. So they all looked up and everyone saw the announcement of the Holy Prophet. Now many people try and deny that we did not hear, and many times I find it difficult that at times the Holy Prophet comes to the ear of his uncle Abu Talib and says, oh uncle, please say La ilaha illallah, shahadu la ilaha illallah. And we have three greatest companions reporting it, that we heard what the Holy Prophet said in the ear of his uncle. Oh uncle, please say the shahada. And when he's screaming out loud, Man kuntu mawla fahada, they said, we didn't hear it. I find it very difficult to digest. So he announced very loud and he said, Man kuntu mawla fahada Ali mawla. And everyone looked and they all started asking questions. How is it relevant today? Now, for the next 3 days, he asked every single man and woman present in the plains of Ghadir to pay allegiance to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he said, no one leaves until they pay allegiance to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he said, I will provide the food and the drink for the next 3 days, for everyone that is here. And the people said, Ya Rasulullah, food will not be enough. He said, my camel is present and you should make it halal for everyone else. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, it'll be difficult, just one camel for over 100,000 people. He said, yes, it'll have the barakah. I don't want to go into all of those details, but the women started first, and that's how women, ladies first. It started from Ghadir, and the Holy Prophet said, it starts from my house. The ladies will pay allegiance to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Many people have said that the Imam al-Islam sat down with his hand covered, and the women came and touched his hand and paid allegiance. Many of our Shia scholars argue that no, there was a utensil in front of the Imam al-Islam, and he placed water inside it, and he placed his hand inside on this end, and the women would come and sit down on the other end, and it is mubaya'ah, paying allegiance. Mubaya'ah is a two-way thing, like mubahatha, a discussion. A discussion can never take place until two people are discussing something. Otherwise it's a lecture, it's only, it's not a dialogue, it's a monologue. Now mubaya'ah is also a two-way thing. So people come and say that we will be faithful to you as our master, you are our master, and we will be faithful to you as followers. And what is the guarantee on his end? That if you say obedience to me, if you remain faithful to me, if you remain on your bay'ah, if you remain faithful to your allegiance to me, then I promise that I will do shafaat on the Day of Judgment. I will intercede on the Day of Judgment. That was a promise. Now everyone leaves. How does it apply in our life today? Number one, many people found it difficult to submit to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Why? Power is corrupting. You know, when you come into power, it corrupts, and you have to continuously remind yourself. I've been on many different roles of authority, and you have to continuously remind yourself that you don't deserve it. Don't tell yourself that it is mine. Number one, Ghadir teaches all of us, if you don't deserve something, don't take it. And if you happen to be in the position where you take the leadership, then hand it over to the one who deserves it more than you. Shaheed Baqir Sadr rahmatullahi alayh, in one of his, I think the last lecture, in fact, his last lecture, he said to the people, he said, Hubb dunya rasu kulli khatiyah. He's speaking on this hadith of the Holy Prophet and the Imam alayhi salam, that the love of this dunya, the love of this world is the root of all evil. He's speaking on this tradition, and he expands and he says that, look, if any one of you, men or women, had the authority in your hand, had the government, and you had Musa ibn Ja'far alayhi salam in the prison, because Imam Musa alayhi salam remained in the prison of Harun for a long time. He said, if you had the Imam in the prison, and you were the governor or the leader of the state, it is upon you to step down and say, Mawla, I free you and this is yours. Even if you delay for a night and say, let me be the leader and the king or the Khalifa or whatever, the ruler, just for one night, then you have denied the Imam, the infallible, of his right, and you have oppressed the Imam for one night. The Hujjah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for one night. How difficult is that, and how easy is that? It can be very easy if you have full control over your nafs. And it is very difficult if your nafs is in control of you. Now, you know, just like a horse you're riding, if you control it, if the reins of the horse are in your hand and you have it tied and you know where to take it, then you control where it goes. But if the horse is let free, then it takes you wherever it likes. In the 21st century, the number one, when you don't deserve something, don't take it. And if you do acquire certain bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, certain positions, then never ever tell yourself that you are worthy of it. Continuously remind yourself that I am not worthy. I happen to be in a position where I am now leading. It is a responsibility rather than a privilege, and I should not feel happy and should not feel that I am better than others. One of the greatest scholars that we've had in the 1,000 years in the Shia world, Sheikh Ja'far Kashif al-Ghita, Sheikh Ja'far Kabir Kashif al-Ghita, rahmatullahi alayhi. One of his students said that at night I would hear him, that he would stand in his courtyard and cry, look at the sky, and he would speak to himself and say, you were joyful. You know, like in Arabic language, it is a common, even in other languages to be honest, it's a common thing to form tasgheers, to diminish the names and form names that you call them by not names but titles, or simplify them. So they said, you're not Ja'far. People called you little Ja'far. Then you became Ja'far, then you became Sheikh Ja'far, then you became Sheikh Kabir, then you became the greatest marja. Do you think you're really worth it? Have you forgotten that you were Juwayfa? You were a little man? He would continuously remind himself, so that the authority of Marja'iyya does not get to his heart and does not make him feel greater and bigger than other people. You know, our Imams, the Holy Prophet himself ﷺ, and the Aimam, they always put themselves down. You know, modesty. The Holy Prophet would always sit down on the floor, even with the slaves in olden days. You know, slavery hadn't been abolished completely. The Holy Prophet said, free your slaves, it is the greatest deed you can do. He would sit down on the floor and eat with them. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, we wish we could invite you. He said, why don't you? He said, we are slaves, we eat on the street. He said, invite me on the street, I'll sit down and eat with you. Imam Ali Islam was sitting with the orphans, and he had his abba spread on the ground, and the children came and sat down, and someone stepped on his knee, one of the children, small children. And one of his companions said, move back. Don't you know this is the ruler, commander of the faithful, Amirul Mu'mineen? Imam Ali said, do not repeat those words. If this child had the love of his father at home, if he wasn't an orphan, then he wouldn't look for that love from me. Share the love and the bounties that Allah gives you with other people. Now the other lessons of Ghadir is that you share with others what you have. And always take advice. You know, the Holy Prophet, وَشَاوِرُهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, you know, the Holy Prophet, being connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through wahi, he would still take advice from people. If the greatest, you know, Madinatul Ilm, Madinatul Hikmah, the city of knowledge, the city of wisdom, if he takes advice, then who are we? So when you're in position, when you're leading, then always take advice from other people. Always try and include other people in the decisions. Do not impose your view. The Holy Prophet asked everyone and he said, I like his advice and will follow this. And Allah had obviously inspired many of the mu'mineen to give the advice, the right advice to the Holy Prophet that Allah wanted. Now, there is always more barakah when you take advice from other people. At home, try and communicate. There should be at least once a week a session where you all come together, sit down together, and you say and share your feelings. Express your feelings to your family members. You only make a small problem big when you do not communicate. Communication is the key, number one. Number two, expressing your, you know, when they say that two things. When you do not express your dislike for something, it decreases. And when you express your love and likeness for something, it increases. Tell your children you like them, you love them. Your family members. It increases that love. Many times you think, well, what kind of a father will not love their child? So my child should know. No, he shouldn't. He's only a child. Or she's only a child. Expressing that, yes, you love them. You know, the Holy Prophet, when he said something about Hussein Islam, only 3-year-old, Imam Hussein, in the arms of the Holy Prophet, it says, Allahumma inni uhibba Husayna, fa ahibba man ahabba Husayna. Oh Allah, I love Hussein. You also love the one who loves Hussein. Why is he expressing his love so much? It's a lesson. Ghadir, he again repeats those words. Allahumma wali man wala, wa adi man ada, wa nusur man nasara, wa khudul man. He says, oh Allah, Ali is the master of whoever I am the master of. Oh Allah, you love whoever loves Ali. Dislike the one who dislikes Ali. And all of those words that he repeats continuously. Oh Allah, help the one who helps Ali. And oh Allah, disgrace the one who tries to disgrace Ali many times. What are those words of du'as? Ghadir teaches you that you should express, not only should express, but also take the people with you. The last message that I want to very quickly do. This message, I wish I can, inshallah, within 2 minutes, say them in the, you know, the least amount of words, but most effective. Imam Baqir Islam says, you do not, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, you do not go into the next stage of Iman, you do not excel in your Iman, you do not, you know, there are stages of Iman, steps you take that increases your status before Allah. He says, you do not increase your status in Iman until you bring the one behind you in where you are, in your own position. You help the one behind you and say, come in my position. Then Allah says, now I'll help you go into the next position. But if you're greedy and selfish and say, stay where you are, I want to excel. Allah does not help you excel in Iman and in taqwa and piety, in practice, in your own lives. If you help others come into your position, keep helping, which, like training other people, like the British system always says that you try and give what you have to others and you train the next generation. And the retirement comes in when you have trained other people, the succession plan, whatever you want to call it. There are so many terminologies now out there about this. Unfortunately, the Muslims have it the least. Now, try and train others in Iman, others in taqwa, piety, Islam, knowledge, management and leadership. Train others and bring them into your position. Try and bring them into where you are. And Allah will help you excel in your Iman. That is one of the greatest messages in Ghadir. When all the companions who truly believed in Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, who remained behind and everyone else left, this is what they did. They remained and they came to show their affection for Imam Ali, and he showed them how they would excel further. People like Salman, people like Abu Dhar, Miqdad, Ammar and others. These were the greatest of the companions of the Holy Prophet. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Salawat.